Small Business Hacks: 100 Shortcuts to Success. Hack 14: How to Negotiate a Lease by Zane Smith, attorney, Zane Smith and Associates. Here are 5 considerations for small businesses looking to negotiate a commercial lease. The hack is limited to an office-type lease. Retail leases have significantly different rules and regulations. 1. Decide whether or not to use a broker. The first decision a business owner must make is whether to find a space with or without the use of a broker. In commercial leasing, there are 2 kinds of brokers: those who represent the landlord and those who represent the tenant. Usually the tenant broker is the most advantageous to the business owner. However, the business owner should keep in mind that the landlord is going to try to recoup the cost of a broker commission in the lease itself, which is usually 1 month's rent for every year lease. Once a business decides whether to use a broker or deal directly with the landlord, the negotiations begin. 2. Determine what's included in your rent. Commercial leases are different than residential leases in that commercial leases can be net, double net, or triple net. In a net lease, the tenant pays the monthly rent plus their own utilities. Double net usually means the tenant pays their rent, utilities, share of the taxes, and common area maintenance, CAM. Triple net usually means the tenant pays all those costs plus the costs associated with maintaining the building, including but not limited to the cost of mechanicals, HVAC, fire suppression, roof, etc., maintenance and repair. A triple net lease is like owning the building without actually taking title in terms of cost. It is very important for a business owner to understand that the cost of their monthly rent is usually just the beginning of the monthly expenses that will be needed to occupy the space. In addition to the base rent, utilities, and CAMs, commercial leases usually provide for annual increase in rent as well as cost of living or inflation increases. Small business owners looking to lease in a newly constructed building should also be aware the building taxes may be artificially low at first due to local government incentives for redevelopment disappearing over time. It's imperative that business owners know what to expect, not only in the beginning of the lease term, but also at the lease progress so they can budget accordingly. 3. Demand consciousness. In negotiating the lease, you can demand concessions in order to commit. These can include rent abatement, free rent for up to 1 month for every year on the lease, build out concessions where the landlord will pay the cost of rehabbing the space to suit your needs, or rent concessions in the form of less rent at the beginning of the lease and more rent at the end. Negotiations are all based on the landlord's expectations that they will recoup their expenses over the term of the lease. The longer the term of the lease, the more generous the concessions usually are. 4. Negotiate an early termination clause. It is possible that the business environment changes and the business owner need to terminate the lease. In this case, there are terms that need to be negotiated at the beginning of the lease, not after it has already been signed. It's not uncommon to have a 5-year lease with negotiated termination agreement after 2 years. At the same time, the lease negotiation should likely include any option to extend the lease such that at the end of the 5-year lease, if the business wants to extend for another 5 years, the terms are already negotiated for a set price. 5. Hire an attorney. The terms and price of terminating the lease should be negotiated at the beginning, if at all possible. If not practical, the best way to handle a lease termination is to hire a lawyer. Lawyers are usually very successful in calling landlords and telling them that their client's financial condition has changed, or that their client has been bought out and would like to begin negotiation for termination of the lease. The result very much depends upon the skill of the attorney and their ability to negotiate the best possible terms of a divorce. In summary, lease negotiation carried out by a commercial broker and an experienced real estate attorney will usually result in the terms of a negotiated lease that are acceptable to both tenant and the landlord. So, kind of interesting. They use the term or the phrase "best possible term of divorce" when referring to terminating the lease, because a lease is obviously an agreement, in this case between a business and a landlord, so not exactly a married couple, but definitely negotiating the best terms both for you as a business owner and the landlord is something good to sit down and just hatch out between the two parties. So hopefully you found some value in this hack from the small business hacks, and keep checking back for some more entrepreneurial small business related videos, along with some more sciences of getting rich videos. Thanks, and have a good day.